When did you know you were an artist?
So my dad gave me a charcoal set when I was probably around 10, and I absolutely loved it. It was an escape for me. It was peaceful. It brought me joy, and it just, yeah, it was something that I could do on my own and just go hide and do it. He continued to buy me art supplies. My mom and dad were divorced, so that was his, here, and which was awesome.
What do you love about art?
I love how art can make you feel. It can transform you. It can transform a space. It can take you away. I just love that it affects everyone differently, and that I have no judgment of art. If somebody says, "Oh, that's a nice piece of art," or whatever, I think you like what you like, and if it brings you joy, I love happy art, and like I said, it can just transform your home. Your home. If you've got a dark painting on the wall, you walk in and you would feel like you might feel dark. If you have a happy painting on the wall, I think that painting has the ability to make you smile no matter what kind of a mood you're in. So that's probably my favorite thing about art, is just how it can transform a space, your heart, your mind, anything.
Why do you think art is important?
It brings a sense of belonging. I think that it can be amazing for your self-confidence, creating art anyway. It can be amazing for your self-confidence. It can be amazing for your mental health. I'm all about sharing art, and I just feel like people don't give art the recognition it deserves. There is art in everything you do. Your headphones, somebody designed that. Your shirt, somebody designed that. That is art. Hockey teams, people go, well, arts aren't important. Well, where do you think they got those Bruin logos from? They didn't just get them from the construction worker down the street. It's an artist, and art is more important than we ever give it credit for, because it affects literally everything. That chair you're sitting on, someone designed it. That's art. So I just think there's so much about art that we don't even realize, and just how creating can make you feel, or how looking at a piece of art can make you feel. So it's important.
How do you see yourself as an artist in community?
So mostly as an artist who brings other people's art to people. I do put some of my own stuff out there. Well, I put fair amount, but I really try to encourage others. So right now in the display case, we have a display by a young man in town, and it's very Picasso-ish. And we do a display at Michael's Coffee Shop, and we've done lots of murals in town. Me as the Arts Council and Visual Arts. So as an artist in the community, again, it's all about promoting local artists more than myself. I fill in the gaps. I collect art like this. Everywhere I go, I look for pieces of art. Little pieces. This is a card I got from the Limited Vision. Some people would say that's not art, but I think it's very cool that was created. So I think as an artist, I get more joy out of showing you that than showing you a piece that I did. I just love promoting art. So that's probably my role. And my role right now, I am the president of the Arts Council, and I just took over that a year and a half ago now, a little over a year ago. And I'm also the head of visual arts. And so I've been really working to revitalize our art classes, our pottery club. And again, imagine this, to so that we can share art, to get other people. I just feel like when people create something that they or share something that they've created, it just gives them a sense of pride that many things that they just maybe won't ever have the chance to do. I just think it gives them a chance to shine.
Is there something that's inspiring you right now about your art?
I'm excited I have been kind of lax in creating. We all get that way. So right now I'm actually feeling motivated to do more creating and to finish some projects. So I have several unfinished. So right now that I brought them out and they are staring me in the face at home. So that is my motivation to actually to finish them, because there's a running joke that I work on things for 6 years and then I finish 6 things in like 4 days. It's not really that funny, but it's true. So that's kind of inspiring me right now. Just pulling out my unfinished paintings are inspiring me to actually clean things up, because honestly, there's a lot of them are really nice, and we're not getting any younger. And I'm kind of in the I've had several friends who have passed, and it's like, seize the day. We only have one life here on earth. We make good use of it and enjoy it. And if art is what brings you joy, then get busy doing it. Whatever brings you joy, do it, because there's amazing stuff out there, and we've been given a great opportunity. Like, we could have been born a bug, but we weren't. So it's like, seize the day, enjoy every minute. And I really love creating. So yeah, getting on the bandwagon and actually finishing things and just being more prolific.
What are your favorite mediums to work in?
Right now, I'm really enjoying oil pastels. I've just started playing with those. I just think they're really cool. I like watercolor. It's loose, but I love the vibrancy of oil pastels. And traditionally, I have worked in acrylics pretty much exclusively. But I'm actually, you can carry oil pastels with you, although they are a mess, but I still like them. And watercolor sets, like I've gotten some really shimmery watercolors and some color changing watercolors, and just playing with new mediums. I really, like, I've done mosaics and, like I said, rug hooking and punch needle, and I love fabric art. I don't think I have the patience for fabric art, but I really love the funky, weird stuff. But yeah, right now I would say I'm really loving oil pastels and watercolors. That's what I'm into right now.
Are there any particular artists that you admire or try to emulate, and who?
Okay, I really kind of love the classics. I love Van Gogh. I have my Van Gogh ring on Starry Night. I was at a museum in London, and I hadn't slept in, I would say, 24 hours. And we walked in, and there was Van Gogh's sunflowers hanging on the wall. And I just looked, and I burst into tears. And my husband's like, "Are you okay?" Van Gogh sunflowers. And he's like, "I know, honey, it's okay." And I'm like, but it's, yeah, I was emotional. I hadn't slept in a while. So yeah, art has the ability to do that to you. But and that Van Gogh especially had the ability to do that. So it's weird. I like weird art. I'm not a Michael Lonechild kind of person. I love the weird Picasso. Actually, we were at a Picasso museum, and he did lots of like pottery stuff too. That was really weird and bizarre. Matisse, I love the classics. And there's these AI artists, and I'm sorry, but I'm like, it's the future. I love change, but there's some AI artists that create these. And I looked for their names today, and I couldn't find it. But they create like these AI images of these really old, really classy-looking people wearing like incredibly cool clothing, like just colorful, beautiful, classy, incredible. And honestly, if that's AI art, bring it on. I don't mind it one bit. So anything colorful, happy, yeah, I'll pretty much take any of that.
Do you have an artist statement that you're particularly proud of?
That's for the fancy artist. But I guess if I had a statement, that's not an official, but I just think art should be shared, art should not be judged, and art should make you feel good. In Barcelona, we went to a museum, and there was a wall, probably from here back, it was huge. Okay, so maybe this wall. Okay, let's say this whole wall. That's about right. This wall was a canvas in a museum. It was yellow, and it was yellow. There was nothing underneath it. There was nothing. I go up close to it, and I'm looking, and I'm like, my husband's like, that's not art. And I went, it's yellow. And he went, is there like layers? And I went, it's just yellow. And he went, well, anybody could do that. And I went, anybody could do that. But you know what piece of art I'm talking about 10 years later? That yellow wall. That's the piece of art that I talk about. It affected me. Maybe not for the right reason, but I love yellow. So we stress a lot about what is good, is right, and what is art, and all of this. It was in a museum, an art gallery, whatever, in Barcelona, Spain, known for its art, and it was yellow. So, and yeah, we overthink things, and honestly, when you create something, like, really, this is terrible.
I like it.
But and I'm like, oh, my duck is literally sitting on top of the water. I'll come back and fix that someday. It's like, and my, whatever. I did decide I will fix my rainbow. But it's an ugly painting, and it's like, so who cares? Let's just play with it and have fun.
Can you describe your art discipline? Do you have a studio or any rules that you follow about finishing or creating art?
My art discipline is bad, if you can probably imagine by now. I have a little studio at my house, but I usually end up bringing out my stuff and working at the kitchen table. My house is filled with art. Literally, you can't get another piece on the walls. And so in my studio, there's lots of shelves with supplies. So if I go out to the kitchen, I can see all my art, and I can see my colors, and I can see things that makes me happy. So then I have to clean it up for supper, which is a bad thing. So I wish I had, but I don't. Finishing and creating art, I lose interest. And but then I go back, even sometimes after a few years, and start going. We currently, right now, we've been doing it for 3 years now. That was one of my dreams when I joined the Arts Council, was to have a creating session where nobody judged you. So we meet every Tuesday morning over in the art room, and people bring whatever they're working on, and we create. Some people are doing diamond dots. Some people are doing watercolors or crocheting. Again, it doesn't matter. So that having that dedicated time keeps me on track better, because it's like, okay, I'm going to take this to the Great Create. I will work on it. So then I have 4 hours a week that I am going to work on this project. And I'm retired, but I have my hands in way too much. I run a dance group, and I am the president of the garden club, and I run a coffee group that meets weekly, again, for socializing. Yeah, socializing. And my art discipline, I don't have any.
What are your main challenges as an artist?
making art. And sometimes you get like frustrated and you're like, this isn't working. Put it away. Grab out something else. Or just the other morning I kept getting interrupted over there. We're revitalizing the art room and they were coming in and going, so what about this and what about this? And I'm like, finally I just said, okay, I put the piece I was working on away. And I bought these tiny little watercolor pads. They're this big. Super tiny, and I pulled out one of those, and I thought, I had a cold press and a hot press, and I'm just like, I'm going to play with just nothing, and I ended up doing some abstract, tiny little watercolor. It was a lot of fun. It was abstract. It was literally how is the water playing on the hot versus the cold right beside each other. So... but yeah, that helps me make time. But yeah, that's probably my biggest thing is that I can go for months without creating anything unless I have something like that literally, I run the group. I have to be there, so that forces me to do it. So I was actually looking at that one when you came in. I actually scrolled back through my phone and I'm looking at my art and I'm like, they all have different things for different reasons. Some make me smile and they're terrible. So I have an old blue painting. It's like I grew up on a beach. And so I have this kind of a blue painting. It's very basic. And I sold that painting. I sold a few pieces at the place where I worked at a real estate office. I love the story behind this piece. I sold this piece and it was gone. And then one day, like 20 years later, my big brother who stayed on the beach, he called me and he said, "Did you paint a blue beach picture?" And I went, "Yeah, probably." And he said, he does maintenance for these condos. He goes, "I'm in this condo and there's a picture here and it's got Gail Walker on it." And I'm like, "I think it's yours." And I said, "Oh, that's kind of cool." So he said, "I tried to buy it from the guy and he won't sell it to me." And I'm like, "But I think my sister painted that like a long time ago," and he wouldn't sell it to him. Like 10 years later, the guy calls him and says, "Hey, I'm selling my condo. Do you still want that painting? I'll sell it to you." So my brother bought it. And I just thought it was kind of cool how now it's back home at my brother's. And anyway, so that one kind of just brings me joy because I think it's just kind of a fun story. But most of my favorites are, honestly, it's creating community projects that people can enjoy. So,
can I see some of your art?
This is a Hypertufa bowl. Or papercrete. This one's papercrete. So these bowls, that looks like a huge concrete bowl. It's big. Weighed about 10 pounds at most. Probably more like 7. You mix concrete, paper, perlite, and I do it over I had a big wok, and then just form it over the top. And so I make these bowls, and then I donated most of them to United Way for a fundraiser. Some I gold leafed and whatever. This is a mural downtown, Starry Night at Boundary Dam. So this is the power station.
That's cool.
And anybody can do Starry Night, and I just added the Boundary Dam. And I actually donated that for a fundraiser at United Way as well. And then when they... TD Bank, we were putting a mural on there, and they said, "What do you have for your submissions?" And I'm showing them, and this picture just happened to scroll by because it was in a folder that just said art, and they went, "Oh, what about Starry Night?" And I said, "Well, that's one I did years ago. I don't even know if I could find it." And I found it, and the guy said, "Sure." And TD was like, "That's what we want on our bank. It's classic, but it's local and it's fun." And I said, "Fine." The band at the comp is mine up by ECS, and that was literally I just had people pose and submitted the photograph, and then another guy cut them out. But yeah, and they didn't space them properly on the hill, but that's life. So yeah, I've done, this is like watercolor pencils. My granddaughter's Brickley Pearl. Did this bench. I'd never done digital art. And I was laying out colors to do a painting and decided I liked the digital version better than the painted version, so submitted that and it became a bench. A couple of my bugs, and those are done with oil pastels. This is the tree down in the garden on 4th. That's taken from Klemt's Tree of Life painting. And 2 people, I love this piece too because 2 ladies, they passed away and asked that donations go to the garden in their name. So I created this Tree of Life right from the painting. And actually we ended up, this is not the finished piece, but we ended up putting stained glass behind a lot of the little spots. So there's my mural in the garden on 4th. There's the tree for that each one of the kids has a thing on, which we can see better in another picture here. This is my bee that I painted, and that's a vinyl print now on the back of the garden on 4th. My grandparents, they had bees, and this was a plaque that they had there at their farm. This is a favorite. I painted this for my son. This is the sign from the beach where I used to live.
Where were you formally trained?
I'm Lethbridge University in Lethbridge, Alberta, and then I did my master's. That was my bachelor's, sorry, and then I did my master's in Regina University in Regina, Saskatchewan.
And did you know that you're an artist?
That's actually the only one I did read. And my answer to this is I don't know. I still don't know. I think like being an artist is sort of the same like with any profession or anything you do. I don't think you ever know that you are X, Y, or Z. You just decide that it's something you're doing and that you're doing right now, and you just decide, okay, I'm going to pursue this line of X, Y, and Z and just see it through. Anyways, you pursue it to the best of to the fullest, to the best of your abilities, and that's really all you can do. It's sort of a little bit of like fake it till you make it, to be perfectly honest, because everyone, I think, the secret is this, I think everyone is a little bit like feeling like they're an imposter and a little bit like empty inside. As grim as that sounds, it's the truth. I don't think you ever truly like feel like I am this or I am that, but the beauty of it is that if you aren't that, you also don't ever have to be just one thing. You can be multiple things and you can do multiple things. So I guess to answer that question, I don't know that, and I think that that's okay, because today I do art, tomorrow I might decide, you know what, I'm going to go be a counselor. And I think that there's beauty in that. And as far as art goes, there's beauty in being able to do multiple things, because especially in the current day and age, the question about like what is art or am I an artist, it's played out. Like we've been asking that, talking about it for like hundreds of years. What's been said, like, we're just going in circles now. It's an Ouroboros thing. But, like, using art to discuss current topics, science, politics, that's, like, where the beauty comes in. And being able to draw in upon other skills, dancing, singing, science, math, that's what's, like, super important. Which isn't to say that if your interest is art, then that's not enough. It's just, I guess the thing is you're never just one thing, and you get to be everything if you want to. You fake it till you make it. That really is the truth. Is like when it like, because again, like everyone, I don't think like the thing about confidence is no one will ever know. Like if you're doing it right, no one will ever know if it's real or not, and that's because that's what confidence is. And the thing is you basically have to, there will always be a voice in your head that says like, I can't, I'm not you. And like the most successful people are the ones that ignore it and just say, not, you know, they don't say I'm the best, I'm the greatest. You just don't think about it. You do. You just you do. you don't worry about whether you are or you aren't, because again, the thing is you could be doing any number of things, any number of days. No one gets to define who you are but your actions. So I think that really is the truth, is you just have to kind of like think of yourself like a shark, in that like you just have to keep moving forward. And you know, as long as you do that and you just say, we're not thinking about that right now, we're not worrying about it right now, that's really the greatest strength that you can have, because everyone, I think, feels like a little bit of an imposter, but it's who just simply says, well, maybe so, but I'm still doing this right now, is, you know, what differentiates who does and who doesn't.
What do you love about art?
Everything, I guess. I mean, art is a really powerful tool to be able to like represent yourself and represent the world around you, like, and to tell stories and communicate, I guess, your intricate inner worlds with others. Like, as a queer person growing up, I didn't see like lots of myself in the media and stuff, and the media is like really, you know, is a really powerful tool, especially as a kid, because you know, you see those stories and you think, you're like, wow, that's like, I want to be a part of that. I want to imagine myself there. And I guess that's like the thing about art, is that you get to put yourself in the world that you want to be in, or that you get to kind of compliment or comment on the world that you see. And I think that's what I like about art. Also, I just really enjoy the process, like when you really get into it, because I have like ADHD, and like the stuff that I do, like I am able to just kind of like focus in, shut the world out, spend like 5 hours just like drawing something. It's great. I really like it. I remember like during like the pandemic, I was working on my master's at that point, and like I had to quarantine in my house, like away from like the rest of the world. Best 2 weeks of my life. I just was making art the entire time. It was wonderful.
Why do you think art is important?
That's a big one. I think, again, like art is culture, and culture is pretty much like inextricably like linked to our very existence. Like we call, like, it relates to the things that we are thinking, that like we're all thinking, how we see the world, how we navigate through it. It, you know, like what is acceptable, what isn't acceptable, it's all represented through that. Like it comes in so many ways, I think, in ways that like you don't even necessarily like think about, like the advertisements that you see, that's art. Music, that's art. Stories, like storytelling, not even just like TV shows, but the act of storytelling is an art. I mean, you know, if you look back as far as like this is such a cliche example, but when you look back as far as like, you know, the cave painting, like the handprint in the cave in Lascaux. If you don't know that, you should look it up. But like I think it's Lascaux. But like, if you look back as far, like we have always been using art to like record our very existence and to comment on our existence. And so it's important, because I think that whether we acknowledge it or not, always need a means of like expressing our existence. And we're gonna find a way to do that no matter what. So I think, if I could speak more to that, I think it's both, it's important, and it's important to use it responsibly, because it also influences the way people think. And yeah, no, period. Period. End of. You know, that's why jokes and stuff are like, that's why comedians can get canceled on the drop of a dime, because, you know, like humor and stuff like that is like a communication of like what is okay to make light of, what is okay to like to joke about. That's also, you know, like in TV shows, people are so up in arms about what is represented because it represents the world. So
How do you see yourself as an artist in the community? Like what your role is?
well, I mean, currently, I mean, officially, my role right now is I'm the curator director at the Estevan Art Gallery. So like my role right now is that I get to say yes to people and I get to give opportunities to artists. Granted, it's that, you know, it always comes with like restrictions and yada yada. Like, I mean, one of the things is because of like grants I apply for and stuff, so I sometimes have to plan this stuff like 2 years ahead, which is crazy. But I get to say yes to people, and I get to help artists share their art with the rest of the world, and and because we pay Carfax fees, we can also fund artists' endeavors, which is really cool. Yeah, I didn't, like, when I started out like attending school and whatnot, like I didn't actually think this was where I was going with it. I thought I was like, I want to be like a graphic designer, I want to be like a fashion designer or like an illustrator, but then I just like on a whim joined like the student exhibition committee one year and helped them put together a show, and I was actually like, this is kind of awesome, kind of fun. I love like the hanging and like, it's crazy enough because I hate math, but I actually like doing the measuring. I liked doing the like, you know, how do we hang this thing? What are the logistics? All like, what's the layout? I love it. And doing the lighting. Oh, you would not believe like how you can like change a thing just by like how you light it. It's pretty crazy. Like every single time I put up shows in there specifically, and by there I mean the Gallery 1. Like I'll think everything's okay, like because I'm looking at it just with like the regular lights on. I'm like, well, this is probably fine. And then I put the spotlights on, and I'm like, oh my, like it's crazy. I really love it. It's what was I talking about? What just happened? Right, my role in the community. So yeah, I think that's really like that's the role that I currently play. One day I would like to eventually like go back to making more art for myself, and getting to make sort of the media that I wish existed when I was like, 13, 14, getting to see like queer people like actually in media would be really nice, and queer people in the media in a way that's not insulting or like token, or pretentious. Or like a counseling role. I'd love to, I would like to go into art therapy. Cause I think also like what I really enjoyed when I was doing my master's, everyone that does their master's, you have to also teach a course during that time, which you would think is stressful, but it's actually probably one of my most favorite experiences about the whole thing. And I enjoyed it so much because I basically I got to be the level 1000 professor, and I got to just be like, did you put effort into it? And I mean, the thing is like, as a teacher, like, it's obvious. Like, you can lie your pants off, but like, if I'm looking at your thing, I'm like, I know whether or not someone actually tried with what they're doing, but like, did they put the effort in? Yeah. So we give them marks, like good marks. And like, that was my thing. And I liked being able to like excite people and make them like enjoy stuff, and also make them like think about their art and like think about like what it means that they like made it. So like, that's why I'd also like in the future love to do like art therapy as well. But yeah, I think currently, my role right now is just, well, I don't think I know, it's on my paycheck every week that a curator director, I get to say yes to people.
Is there something that's inspiring you right now about your art?
I mean, just stories and like media, really. And stuffed animals. I just love like critters and creatures. I like I was really into like the TY Beanie Babies like in the early 2000s. I don't know, you're Gen Z, so I don't even know.
No,
you know what that is? Okay,
Yeah.
Great, because then I don't have to be like, it's like Labubu's, but not. It's nothing like Labubu's. But anyways, I got really into Beanie Babies, and even now, like, when I walk through like a gift shop or something, like I will make a beeline for just to see what's there. I just want to see see what cute little critters are there, and I enjoy them. And I was very susceptible to all the like Bambi and other Fox and the Hound and like movies like that really like anthropomorphized animals. So yeah, I would say that continues to be what like really inspires me is like tales of critters and stuffed animals and cuddly cute stuff and well, and also just queer politics. Really, I mean, the current like attack on gay rights is a thing that we can't ignore. And you know what? No, I shouldn't actually say it. It's not the attack on gay rights. It's the attack on trans rights that is currently happening, and they're using a lot of really crass, unfortunate scapegoats in order to justify those attacks, and it's not okay. And I don't appreciate it. And I think the need to kind of always like speak up, represent ourselves in our art. And not just say like we're right or wrong, because that's all like we exist. With my work is really will always remain like really important to me. So that's what's inspiring me.
What are your favorite mediums to work in?
I love pochoir. I love ink. I think it's really fun. I want to say Akua ink. It's specifically like a printmaking ink. It's a little like it's a little bit oily, it's a little more sticky, and it really allows you to like exhaust a lot of the pigment and just have a very thin pigment on your brush that you work with that you can build up. Love that. And my other thing is gouache. But yeah, it's like opaque watercolor. It's like the best things about oil paint and acrylic and watercolor in one tube that for some reason the art world like just doesn't stock anywhere. It's so hard to find anywhere. It's so annoying. Like even in micros, they're like, yeah, we don't sell it like in store anymore. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Stop it. So like but it's like it's my favorite medium to work with. Like especially when I was doing my master's, I did a lot of illustrations using that, and it's such a fabulous medium because it's like watercolor, and you can paint like really vivid, gorgeous like hues in like large like areas without there being any texture showing up of like your brushwork. And it also like you can do blending, you can do like all this really like soft detailing and like hue shifts and stuff without having to build up the way you would watercolor. It's just one thing and it's gorgeous, vivid color. No patience necessary, which is like I don't have patience. I just don't, and I've always struggled with watercolor. But when I discovered gouache, wow, I love gouache. You can you can blend with it the way that you would like oil painting, but you can also like go graphic with it the way you would like ink or like watercolor. It's just just fabulous. It's my favorite. It's one of my favorite things, and it is so hard to find like in stores. Like unless you're living like in a big city that's like somewhere is guaranteed to be selling it. Probably not at like the big places, but like at a specialized art store. Oh my god, wait, I almost forgot the most important one. Alcohol ink markers. I love alcohol ink markers. And I'm just gonna say this because I'm gonna gush. I know you didn't ask, but I'm gonna talk about it anyways. The most famous ones are Copic, yes, but like unless you want to mortgage your new house or something like to afford them, what you want to do is there's this brand called Ohu'u. The Ohu'u markers are fabulous. They're like, I imagine Copic must be like pretty like I guess it's still at the top of its game. Whatever, I'm calling them anything, but like You just get such good results. And specifically, I mean, I'm sure you already know this, but like specifically, my favorite are the pastel set that they sell, because like the main difference between Ohu and Copic is that Copic tends to skew like a little bit more. They have a wider variety of like paler tones because you can build up that tone, as opposed to like Ohu, because it's cheaper to make more pigmented stuff. But which is great, but it also means that like some of the blending, like you can't like build up because you already have such pigmented stuff. But if you buy the pastel Ohus, you can build up really like gorgeous tones and play a lot with blending because of like those lighter colors. If you didn't know that, now you do. Make sure you like invest in the pastels because they're so good. I cannot rave enough about them. I love. Here's the other thing is like just so much fun, like especially for having a sketchbook and just being able to like get ideas out quickly. Like they're so great because you can blend with the colors, you can experiment with the colors,
And they don't eat your paper.
It's really the only thing I think that like I've ever like experienced that is a negative is that they do bleed through it depending on like what. I have an ELO sketchbook, and I love my ELO sketchbook. But I mean, I just solved that problem. I buy like a second sketchbook. I cut out the paper and I just put it on the back. I paste it over the back, so I can work on both sides. Fabulous. It is. Cannot rave enough. Love. Oh, last thing. Colorase colored pencils, like with the erasers. They're so great for doing like under drawings, like to do the primary sketch before you do like the inking and stuff. Love them. Would not. I used to draw in pencil and I hate it because it always like because when you start going with your colors, like the black muddles in with the ink if you haven't like erased it enough. But with the pencils too, like you still might get some of that color blue, but it's less likely and it's just lighter. A lighter tone that like gives you something to work with before you like go in and ink it.
Are there particular artists that you admire or try to emulate, and who?
Dan Mora. He's a comic book artist, and he's done pretty much probably like the only art style of Superman that I've ever been like, yeah, that feels like Superman to me. He has such bold, like gorgeous line work that he does, and the colors are just so like rich, and like the characters, I guess round is a word I would use, like they have such broad faces and such like, because sometimes people go like crazy with the chiseling, you know, but the way he does it is just enough, like just enough to straddle that line between stylized and soft, and also like implying that like power of the character. He's one of my, like every single time like I pick up a comic of his, I know I'm gonna think the art is gorgeous. Naoko Takeuchi, and she is the artist for Sailor Moon. I love her art. I mean, what we know today as like, if you're into anime, what we know today for like magical girls, for shoujo, for anything like that, you have her to thank. She is like a powerhouse of an artist. She did Sailor Moon, obviously. And the other thing too, like one of my favorite things about her is that she, like a lot of her character designs, like she was huge into fashion. Like all of the outfits that you'll see from like a lot of the female villains and a lot of the female and also like Sailor Moon's wedding dress, they're from like Valentino, Balenciaga, like from the 90s. And it's just so cool like seeing like those references like transposed into like this like anime format. And also like it's an anime that like explores like a lot of like gender fluidity and romantic fluidity and and queerness in I think ways that the world was not ready for back in the 90s, and especially like as it's hugely controversial, and just like famously like when it came over to the States, they changed a lot of things. Like this lesbian couple, they became cousins. Or there was this gay couple. One of them, literally, they were like cast a female voice actor, and changed the script to refer to him as a she, so they made him into a female character just so that they didn't have to like address that topic for kids, which, you know, is unfortunate and it sucks, but it's also a thing like learning about it and learning like, I guess, even what the show was like doing at that point, even like in Japan. It's just so like powerful because I don't think anyone did that. Like, she did it first, and also it's what made me like art and anime in the first place. It's just so beautiful, which is also like really funny because like a major plot point throughout the series was like that Serena, the main character, or Usagi, which is like her Japanese name, is like fat and ugly. And I'm like, I'm sorry, do you have eyes? She's beautiful. But, you know, I think that's also like a part of like the teenage experience, is like growing up being told or thinking that you're like ugly when like that couldn't be further from the truth. And I think that that's really beautiful. So, wait, I have one more. Himmel of Klimt. Everyone says that Pablo Picasso is the father of abstractionism. No, it's her. She's the mother of abstractionism, and she was doing it before him. She did like these gorgeous, like big, huge scale paintings, depictions of like the creation of the universe in these like abstract biomorphic shapes that predate Pablo Picasso, but she kept them in storage and told her son specifically that they were not to be shown until the world was ready for it, because she got like big into theology, and basically one of the like kind of big figures in mythology or in the religion that she was following told her like, you are not supposed to be representing the spiritual. This is not art. Do not ever show this to anybody. So like he really broke her down, and so she didn't want that stuff to be shown. But in the 80s, I believe, like her son like did really end up releasing this stuff, and it was, first of all, it was like beautiful and gorgeous, and it also proved that she was doing like this stuff like predating Pablo Picasso. So Himmel of Klimt.
Do you have an artist statement that you're particularly proud of?
No. No, I don't. I hate artist statements. I do. I really do. And I don't think like you're gonna find an artist like, I mean, you might, but like, I put it to you that all artists say artist statements because you have to talk about yourself, and that's hard. Not only do you have to talk about yourself, but you also have to talk about like, because it's not even like an exhibition statement. That's different. Because if you have to talk about the work you're doing, of course you're gonna be like, because you can fall back into like what you do and like the questions you're asking, the work you're doing. That's easy. Like, because the other thing too is like everyone will always say like, if you're making a statement, be it like exhibition or artist, write about it the way you would as a historical figure. Write about it as someone that isn't yourself. Which the thing is like when you are doing if it's about your exhibition, easy. I can do that, no problem. It's when you get into the like when you have to talk about yourself, it's like, right, but I am me, and I also like if I have to talk objectively about myself, I'd be like, trash, tacky, bad. I just you know what I'm saying. I think that you should love yourself, and that's. But I think that yeah, it's one of those things that it's always just very like difficult to kind of think objectively about yourself and also like kind of condense yourself down into like into who you are like then in the moment, because it's never going to feel accurate, because like name a permanent state of self, you can't, because that's not how it works. So I would say that like I have an exhibition statement that I'm very proud of. I don't think I've ever summed myself up in a way that I personally ever am proud of. I guess that like, I mean, if I had to say one, like I remember when I did this, I remember once one of the statements that I made was like, the world needs a serious injection of queer culture, and I am just the person to provide it. I think that's probably the most true statement to me that I've ever made, and that's on period.
Can you describe your art discipline? Like, do you work in a studio, or do you have any rules about finishing or creating art?
So I don't work in a studio. I envy anyone who can afford a studio because, oh my god, and they're so expensive. I guess I could do it work here. Admittedly, I could just use this space or my apartment. I mean, the one thing about being an artist is that no one ever tells you is that like you need a space to like do it. And it's so like when I was in university, because they give you like a studio, right? And fabulous, I loved it. If I can ever get into a situation where I can afford one again, I would love to. Currently, I don't. Currently, my studio is the back of my car and my office during off hours. What was the second part of that question?
Do you have any rules about finishing or creating art?
No. I don't. I think that, like, I always want to, like, finish an art piece. I do feel bad if I don't. Here's the thing, though. If an artwork, at a certain point, like, if I just haven't worked on a thing, and I think it's just better to just, like, let it go. Sometimes you just gotta let it go. Because sometimes you're holding on to something and you're not doing anything with it. And you're also not doing anything, period, because you're like, well, I have to work on this thing. And I can't move forward unless I do it. But I don't want to do it. And it's like, just either get it done or let it go. But you have to pick one. And sometimes I think it's like okay to just say, you know what, I'm just not going to finish this one. That's fine. That's why I really like working with a sketchbook, because there's no rules with that, and there's no consequences to working in a, in the pages of your book, because it's these tiny little pages. You're not like storing like a huge art piece somewhere. It's just like this tiny thing. And I think that's really why I really want to, if I make art, I want to flesh it out in the book first as much as possible, and really feel like, am I going to do a big version of this? Yes or no? Because the other thing too that no one tells you is when you make the work, especially, and if you do go to university, they are going to be like, make it bigger. What if it was bigger? Make it bigger. Go bigger. Make it the size of your house. Make it the size of a skyscraper. I'm not exaggerating. They will do this to you, and they will not only do that. If you are working on paper, they'll be like, what if you did this on canvas? What if you did this on plywood board? What if you did this on steel? It's all this expansive stuff, and it's yeah, that's really cool in the moment. But what no one ever tells you is you have to keep this, unless you sell it, unless a museum takes it long term from you, you have to keep that in your house for the rest of your life. Or if you want to dispose of it, which is painful, because you're yeah, that's my baby. No matter how ugly it is, no matter how ugly you think it is, because you will think. I think all artists look at some of their stuff and no matter how ugly you think it is, you have to keep it, and it's really hard to get rid of it. So it's yeah, that no one ever tells you that it's great that you do this big stuff, but when it's done, it's in your house. So this is why I like Sketchbook, because it's low commitment to anything, and it really gives me a chance to flesh out an idea before I decide if I want to really commit to having the big scale version, and also giving me the best shot at how is this gonna look, what colors work together, am I gonna approach this, so that when I have that big version, I know for sure that it is how I wanted it to look, and something that I want to potentially hold on to, submit for shows or something, and have in my house, and have kind of be responsible to take care of.
What are your main challenges as an artist?
Time. Because unless you're very lucky, you're never gonna get to just, especially if you do in university. Actually, even if you do university, you'll have to especially in your bachelor's, you'll have to take other courses in addition to art. And even if you do your master's, you have to take other courses in addition to your art. A and B, you're given less time, because they're well, you're only doing art, even though you're not only doing art, but you're only doing art, and you should already come in with your exhibition ready to go. Where is it? And in the real world, yeah, you're not, more than likely you're gonna have to, at least for the first little bit, like have a part-time job or you're probably gonna have to have a full-time job to fund yourself while you're while you're working on art, even if also, like, because the other thing too is you can sell your art, that also requires, I guess, two things. A, you have to really work on building up your business, doing commissions, finding out what people like, maybe making things that you're not like that excited about, but that sell, and being kind of at peace with I don't love it, but I have to do it if I want to like make a living, you know what I mean? And even then, you still probably are going to have to get like a job in order to still like continue funding yourself. So the main thing is like just having time to like fit it all in and mustering the drive to do so. Because the thing for me, and like I'm going to say this as someone that is guilty of not doing this, because I'm doing this job currently, so like I haven't really like given myself time to like work on like more commercial stuff. But it's just something that you have to like consider and give yourself time for, and really like, because there will be days when you're like, I don't want to do it, like I just don't feel like doing it, and you have to say, right, but if I guess you have to sort of hold yourself accountable and say, you know what, like if I'm not feeling it now, like who's to say that I'm gonna be feeling it in 2 months from now? Like the only way to get yourself doing it is to do it. Even if you're having an art blog, you just have to like just draw even just like a little doodle every day. Get yourself doing something in order like just to keep going, because I think like, because the thing is like passion is fleeting. It really is. It will not stay with you forever, and it's not realistic to rely on as a motivator to continue your work, because the truth is you're not always going to be passionate. You're not always like going to be happy, but you still have to kind of like get up and like do the thing. And I think like kind of going back to the first question when you said like, you know, like how did you know you're an artist? And I said like you are what you do. And the thing is passion only gets you so far, and in terms of like what you do at even like, and you know, in the kind of the closest way to being sort of an artist per se is you get up and you do art and you do it. It's and you have to continually do it as a habit. Like you are your habits. And so that's the other thing that no one ever tells you, or maybe you're just supposed to find out on your own, is that like even when like on days when you're like not feeling it, when you're busy, when you get home and you're stressed out and you're tired, you still have to like just give yourself like an hour with the sketchbook and find a way to like make that something either that like works for you, that you just get through, or something that like finding a way to like have that be therapeutic or helpful or like enjoyable for you. Because at the end of the day, yeah, like passion is, it just is, and some days you're gonna feel like really inspired and some days you're not, but the biggest thing is to just like keep making regardless.
Could you choose one piece of art out of all those that you have completed? Which one would be your favorite? And can you describe that piece?
This is going to be a little bit controversial. I don't know, controversial. So I've done like paintings and stuff, but my favorite piece that I've ever done is actually we'll call it's a printmaking project that I've done using a technique called pochoir, which sounds fancy. It's just the French word for stencil. And what that involves is, it sort of predates silkscreen. You cut shapes out of like a medium, like in the olden times it used to be like copper plate or something like that, like durable, but I just use transparency sheets because I college student money, and you use a flat tip brush with like a very thin layer of ink color to stencil the color like into the shape. But I don't just do it flat. I like add dimension, and I do like these tiny little shapes on a very big piece of paper. And so what the image is, my favorite, is I call it Starburst, and it's a series of these kind of small like cone shapes that I've arranged in a circle, radiating outwards, layered upon layered upon layered upon layered, so it literally looks like it's exploding outwards. That took about like 20 hours to do. Everyone in my class hated pochoir because it's so time consuming and so like piddly, but like I loved it because I could just shut my brain off and just like tap 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 tap, made this huge thing with these like undulating like jewel tone colors. And yeah, that's my favorite piece that I've ever done because some of the stuff that I do like is related to my identity as like a queer artist, but like in this one I was like, I just want to play with the colors. It's a different question I'm asking or a different thing I'm exploring, and I always go back to it as something that I'm like, when I don't know like what I necessarily want to do, I'll just start stenciling shapes. And so I think that's a really a good example, or the most poignant example of like what I do is that one. Yeah, so Starburst.
Have you done any series of art pieces? What were the themes that were important to you in those pieces?
Is that I've done like a series of pochoir animals, which I love. I built, basically, because I'm like a masochist, I found out very quickly with my pochoir that you can kind of like, when you layer little stenciled shapes on top of each other, it creates like a texture. And so I started using it to make birds. And so I made I did like a full scale like art of a crow screeching angrily at you as like its army of crows like approaches in the background. It's very cinematic, which then led into like an owl at dusk that I did. So the other thing is that about pochoir is that the reason why it sort of like went out of vogue as like a main like a commercial art practice is because it was replaced by screen printing, which was like a more efficient means of producing multiples in like a quicker amount of time. So, but what I did for this project was I created like a series of how many? I think it was like 15 birds, and I think there was about like 4 or 5 groupings of birds in that were all the same, and I did them by hand with the pochoir method. It drove me insane. There were chickens wearing sweaters, chickadees, and then also birds wearing aviator goggles. That still brings a smile on my face. I think that's one of my favorite because I got to really push myself with like pushing that medium and the like means of like creating multiples, but like I'm doing it by hand, and they're not like none of them are the same, but like I'm making it very difficult for myself for them to be the same, but like I'm still juxtaposing those two purposes on top of each other, which I think is kind of the most complex I think I've ever gone with like my art making practice in terms of like process versus like purpose. And also it's just cute birds, and I made this fattest little chickadee and I call him George, and he's very special to me. So that's my favorite series that I think I've ever done.
When did you know you were an artist?
Well, I still struggle with that feeling like a real one sometimes. I guess in elementary school I was always good at art, and it was my favorite subject, and I just was really interested. Actually, since I was a little kid, my mom and grandma found the best way to put me and my twin sister to sleep was to let us color and stuff. And then just making marks, I guess, was always there. And then, yeah, as I got older, I wanted to do it more in life. But I'll say at the time, I couldn't really see a career path with it. So I never thought as seriously about it, probably. But when I was in high school, yeah, I graduated and I thought about attending art school in Regina, but didn't do that. Went to graphic design and did a course for that because I thought that would be the best way to do something creative and artistic. So I kind of did that. I worked as a graphic artist for 10 years or more, and just always had painting and drawing kind of in the background, and just did it less and less. Until 2016, I had a couple of kids, and I just found working at the computer and doing graphic design was just hard on me physically and not great with the kids because I was working from home and they just see me at the computer all the time. So I just switched to, I put that down and started doing art, and I guess that's when in my mind I became pursuing actual art as a career, as an artist. And actually, I guess I started thinking I wouldn't do it. It would just be a side thing to do while I was with the kids. And then I kind of just dove in, and I couldn't help myself. And my family was really supportive. So yeah, I guess that if that answers 2016 is when I started kind of pursuing it more and trying to think of myself as an artist. Yeah.
What do you love about art?
Well, for me personally, it's just I love making the marks. I've noticed that's what it is. In my personal experience, that's what keeps me coming to it for some reason. There's something about taking a piece of charcoal, or even since I was little, a crayon, and just making the marks. That process of it always draws me to it. But obviously what I love about it as a whole, as art, is just how, for me, you can it's like taking something small that you made, and somehow a lot of times it'll become so much bigger than you are. It feels outside of yourself. If it can bless somebody else or someone else can connect with it, that's a really cool thing for me.
Why do you think art is important?
I think it definitely documents history in a lot of ways. I found that hard in high school, the art history part. It seemed a little bit boring, but I actually think it is pretty important. Even just what people are going through, or what the culture is like. Obviously now we have photography, but I guess that's debatable. Some people want to debate if that's art or not, but I think it is. And so I just think that the documentation is great, but also it's something that celebrates craftsmanship. It's something that takes patience and skill, and I just think that's better for people, for the world.
Could you choose one piece out of all the ones you have completed as your favorite? Could you describe that piece?
That one is tough. I wish it was here so I could show it to you, but I thought for now, I guess there is one that I'm really proud of right now, and it's one I painted kind of out of imagination, but I had the idea in my mind. I didn't have a photograph, but then I used Photoshop. It's helpful to have my graphic design skills to put together ideas before I paint them. But anyway, it's called Go Get the Team. And what it was a picture of my grandpa when he was a boy. I heard a story that when he was 12, he had to go catch all the horses that were roaming free on the prairie, all their work horses, and just picturing him doing that. It was a really amazing story to hear, and I wanted to paint something to show that. So the picture is of him as a little boy with all these horses kind of around, but it's kind of an abstract picture too. I could show it to you or send it to you after. Maybe it'll make more sense, but I was really proud of how it came from my mind, I guess, and the colors were one of the more successful that I felt that I've done in a long time. Sometimes the colors aren't what I thought, and I do like to have a really abstract element to it where it's not full realism. Like, I don't know, you can probably see that with other of my pieces. There is realism there, but there's also kind of a movement chunkiness to the paint, and that's kind of harder to do than I thought. So I feel like I did that successfully. So it's kind of, I'm really proud of that one right now.
How do you see yourself as an artist in community? Do you have a defined role? Do you have a goal?
I feel a little bit like an invisible person living the dream in here. Like, I don't feel like that many people see me, so how they see me in the community, I'm not sure. I guess as an artist, it can be romanticized a lot, you know, because it's a hobby that people do too. But it's kind of just a job, just like anyone else. Like, I don't feel that different from my other family that goes to work. I try to, besides that I'm self-employed, which is its own struggle in itself. But I guess, I don't know, I guess I don't feel like I'm really successful necessarily by what people might consider successful, except that I get to do it. I get to do it as an artist, so I hope that encourages some people and is inspiring in the community, that you can try make space for this sort of thing and work on it. For me, I have the support. Like, I don't make enough money to, if this was my only job and income, I wouldn't be able to do it. So I just feel very supported within the community. They welcomed me here to have I asked if I could have my studio in here, and they welcomed me for that. And so I feel more like the community encourages me more than I'm making a difference that way. So I guess when I have the opportunity to, if I get asked for like donating to fundraisers or something like that, I really want to put into that to give back to the community too. Yeah.
What are your favorite mediums to work in?
Definitely right now, oil paint. I just started oil painting just over a year ago, and I just love it. I feel like there won't be any going back from it. But I also do love charcoal too. I did a bit of charcoal, and I sort of thought that would be the be all end all, but I do like color too. So charcoal and oil paint, I feel like I'll always do. Yeah.
Are there any particular artists that you admire or try to emulate?
Yes, there's lots. I'll just list a couple that I'm friends with through Instagram that I just love, just how authentic they are, how kind they are. They've become friends with me even though I've never met them in real life, and I also love what they do. One is Milena Hirschfield. She's on Instagram and Facebook. Jen Brandon is another, and both of these are like Western artists. They do like horses, and well, Jen Brandon does more pets actually, but anyway, I really love her painting style, and she's a really kind person. And then three that I don't know, but I just like, whenever I see their work, my jaw drops and I wish I could paint that way, and I kind of like curate parts of what they do into my work and try to emulate that. One is Jill Soukup. I'm not sure how to, it's Soukup. I'm not sure how she pronounces it, but she's a Western artist that paints a lot of horses, and she's got like a really expressive style. Another one who's a famous YouTuber, his name is Alpay. He's German, I think, and he's a really bold painter. And the other one is Christian Hook, and I used to binge watch, there's a documentary called Portrait Artist of the Year from Britain, and he won it one year, and just this style of his painting and how abstract / realistic it is. I really, really love that. So yeah.
Can you describe your art discipline? Any rules for finishing or creating art?
Okay, so I think just I try break it into two categories, like the themes that I paint and what what my subjects are, I guess, in my discipline. I'm definitely influenced heavily by just rural life and communities, and since I was a little girl, I was always just drawing horses and painting horses, and and I know that seems like typical maybe, but I just decided to not care Like, I think for a short time I started to go like, I want to be edgy and paint, I don't know, what everyone else is doing, like more portraits and stuff that are people I don't know or whatever. But I'm definitely just going with what my heart feels, which is like a lot of heritage, the culture that I'm around, but also I think historically too. Like, I love thinking about just our prairie roots and that sort of thing. So I do a lot of, cows, horses, cowboys, farmers, and kind of everything in between. But I like to do them in a more modern way instead of just full realism. So then that, I guess, going into what my style is, I guess, I like to do the mishmash of abstract and realism. So things look real, but there's also just that abstract expressiveness that gives you more of like a feeling that's hard to explain when you look at, and tells you it's a painting, it's not a photograph. I don't know. That's a goal that I have right now, and I think has been pretty consistent through all my work. Like when I started with watercolor and then to charcoal and now to oil paint, I feel like that has been consistent. So I guess that would be kind of my style with my practice. And lastly, the rules for finishing, mostly just if I feel good about it. If I feel like it's finished, nothing is standing out to me as needing more emphasis or less emphasis. I kind of just, it's a lot of standing back and staring for a long time and going, does this bother me? Does this feel right? And like that painting, my favorite painting of my grandpa, I thought I had so much more left to do. I kind of just finished and then set it aside and thought, oh, I'll come back to it later. And actually, it was done. I actually couldn't imagine painting it more afterwards. I felt quite satisfied. So I guess that's my difficult to describe rule for when it's done. Yeah.
What are your main challenges as an artist?
Definitely time management is hard because, like I said, we have other jobs. This isn't, I don't make enough money to have this be my full-time job, but also that's okay because I'm a mom of 4 kids. My oldest is in grade 10 and my youngest is in grade 2, and I just want to be there for them. So I work when they're at school, but when they're not, I try to be with them, and then also I get tired when they're at school and I want to just sleep or whatever. So making sure I like prioritize time and get time to do things is a challenge for me. And I guess mentally sometimes I wrestle with, should I be doing this at all? Maybe I should just focus on being a mom and not and set this aside more. But having this space extra like this helps me to be able to just do it. And I'm definitely not great with finances. And math. Math was like my enemy in school and still kind of is. So I sometimes struggle with knowing that someone else could run this as a business way better than I do. But I guess that's one of my struggles. Yeah.
How do you deal with imposter syndrome, or do you suffer from imposter syndrome?
I do, and I'm sure everyone does. I think maybe someone like Simon Cowell or someone doesn't. I don't know. But I think it's something everyone does, and it's helped me a lot. I've listened to podcasts and tried to listen to other artists, and hearing all of them talk about it, especially when I think how could they have imposter syndrome? They're so excellent at what they do. But just hearing them talk about it and realizing it's going to happen and it's probably never going to go away, that actually kind of helps and helps you. For me, I give myself a couple of mental checks whenever I feel that. It can feel overwhelming, but to me the answer is just like, am I being as authentic as I can with myself? Like for one thing, I don't own any horses right now. I grew up with them, but we just ever since I had a baby, we sold our horses and we just never got back into it. And so sometimes I feel like I don't have horses. Why should I be painting them and stuff like that? But it's truly where my heart feels excited. It's something I keep coming back to, and I'm interested in it. So I feel like if you're interested in something genuinely, you're allowed to explore that, and you don't have to be an expert about it. That's totally fine. And I remind myself of that, and just as long as a person is humble and is realizing that, like I said, they're not the expert and they're not trying to be something that they're not. You're just working things out. Yeah, that imposter syndrome will always sneak in and be there, but I just find being humble and grateful, like when you always have that grateful, thankful mindset, I don't see how you're being pushy and an imposter that doesn't belong. Yeah.
I think that's
Okay, awesome.
turn this off.